Coates Stars. It's Carole Puckett here, reading specialist, Coates Elementary School, here to talk to the parents of second graders and the parents of children who are reading books on a second grade level at this time about how you can help your child become a better reader. Hopefully by now you've watched Module 1 and 2 of our reading routines at home, and today we're going to talk specifically about the reading routines for a second grade parent. If you'll pull up your brochure, then we can go through it together. Now we're going to start on the second page. And on your second page, it begins with a reading sample of what most second graders read when they begin second grade. We test the children at the end of each year, and at the end of first grade, we would hope that they pass a level 16 DRA. And so I've got a sample right here, which I'll bring up nice and close for you. So on this sample, we can see there's multiple lines, there's conversation, there's quotation marks, there's pictures that support the words. So a tricky word like squirrel, they might be able to use the picture to help them figure it out. Now on this brochure, I've listed a few things that help you understand what a DRA 16 looks like. One thing it says is the pictures support the words. 16 can be fiction or nonfiction. This sample is fiction. The story has multiple characters and events. In first grade, typically stories have one or two characters, and they don't have a very fancy problem. They'll have a very simple problem. By these second grade books, there may be multiple characters, and there may be multiple problems or multiple steps to solve the problem. So your student has to pay attention to the storyline. Another thing is, by a level 16, we expect a student to read fluently. That means read like they talk. In first grade, it would be okay if they read, "What is the matter, squirrel?" because they're just learning to read. In second grade, part of the test is timing them. And so they would need to read, "What is the matter, squirrel?" Read like we read. So now, where are you going to find books on this level? Well, the first place you could go is on the second page. There's a website that links you to Goodreads. Goodreads is a great website because it shows every level. And so the level 16 that we're talking about on Goodreads is called a level J. And they'll list multiple books that you could find at this level. Now, for some of you, your second grader may not be reading this level when they begin second grade, and that's okay. Everyone's different, everyone learns at their own rate, and everyone comes from a different background. So the first thing I want you to do, as it says here, is build your child's love of reading. Read to them. Listen to them read. Share the reading. They read a line, you read a line. You really want them to be inspired to read more. And know that your teacher will work with your child wherever they are to get them up to the reading level they need to be. Now let's turn to page 3 of your handout. On page 3, we'll see an example of what it looks like to, at the end of the year, pardon me. And so at the end of the year, we would read a DRA level 28, which is also a level M on Goodreads. And it's far more complicated. Take a look at this. I've got a nonfiction passage here. We have got some incredibly long words with many syllables. We've got some scientific vocabulary. It's definitely getting more complex at this level. So some other things you might notice is the text is also going to be longer. There's going to be more words per page, and the print is even going to be a little smaller. At both the level 16 and 28, we will not just be listening to the child read the story, but we'll also be listening to them talk about the story. They need to tell us what happened in the story, who the characters were, where the story took place, and what events happened. If it's nonfiction, they need to be able to pick out the important events and the important things that they learned. Now, once again, students will be reading smoothly. They should be reading like they talk. Now, A new question. What if your child's already reading a level 28? Maybe they began second grade reading this level, or they were reading a 28 in first grade. First thing, congratulate yourself on your good work and congratulate your child on their hard work. Do not worry. At school, your teacher will work with your child on their level. They will, if they're reading below a 16, they'll bring text there. If they're reading above a 28, they'll teach them higher level skills and some third grade skills. What I'd like you to do as a parent is keep encouraging your child to read and watch what they're reading. If they're reading the same genre, they're reading all the Nate the Great, or they're reading all of the Magic Treehouse books, just encourage them. Hey, would you like to try something different? Do you want to try some nonfiction? And to find nonfiction at home, it's often good to find a magazine, Sports Illustrated, or something that interests them. Just keep them reading and do the same thing you would if they were on grade level. Ask them to talk about their books. Okay, that's a lot of information, and so now you can kind of see the difference between the beginning of second grade, the end of second grade. So let's turn to the last page on your brochure. It talks about what we do at school, and I'll talk about that more another day. It also talks about how to establish the reading routine at home. First thing to do, find a fun, enjoyable place to read. Second graders can read for 20 to 30 minutes independently. If you try to make them go longer than that and they get impatient, then stop, have them read later. If your child's still having trouble reading longer than 10 minutes at a time, just have them read 10 minutes and then say, well, after dinner, you'll get in another 10 minutes. We don't want to make it a chore, but we do want to make it a habit. Now, what I'd like you to do now is watch Mrs. Gazoulis. She's going to be working with her second grade child to show you what it's like to talk about a book when it's done. So she's going to be asking her own child some things like, who were the characters in the story? What was the setting? Setting is the time and place where the story happened. What connections did you have? Meaning, what does this book remind you of in your own life or in other books that you've read? So please stay with us, take a few minutes, and watch our at-home reading with Mrs. Gazoulis in action. Thank you.
Mom, I finished The Bad Guys. It's such an amazing story.
What made it so amazing, Jay?
Well, it's hilarious. They thought they were going to go into they thought dogs were locked up in jail for no reason, but it was actually they did crimes, so we ended up escaping, freeing dogs from jail for no reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who were some of, you said they, who were some of the characters in the book?
There's Mr. Wolf, as you can see on the cover.
Oh, that's Mr. Wolf, okay.
Oh, right, because he has fur and stuff.
Okay.
There's Mr. Snake, who looks like an inchworm.
Okay.
There's Mr. Shark, who occasionally, and his head looks like a tortilla chip.
He does kind of like a tortilla chip.
And Piranha, who eats too many burritos.
Eats burritos. Where does the story take place? What's the setting of the book?
In jail, because they're trying to free dogs from jail.
Oh, so the story takes place in jail.
Well,
okay.
they go to a jail.
Okay. Is there anything else that happened in the story that you want to tell me about?
Well, at first they try and rescue a cat, but then the cat freaks out because they're
bad guys?
Yeah. And then it freaks out, and then someone ends up biting it.
Oh.
On accident.
He bites the cat on accident?
Yep. And after trying to rescue it from a tree, and then it falls down. And they accomplish their goal. Get a cat out of a tree.
Does this book remind you of anything that's happened in your life?
Because they're trying to rescue people from jail in the story. Once I fell in quicksand.
When did you fall in quicksand?
I was on a bike ride.
Oh, when you're riding your bike with Juliet. Okay.
My sister grabbed me out of quicksand and ended up getting her favorite shoes ruined.
Okay.
Maybe even her pants.
So that's what it reminded you of?
Yep.
All right. Well,
Thanks for staying with us. That was really great, seeing how a parent and child can read together and discuss a book. Kind of very similar to the way you would discuss a book with a friend if you were in book club. But also, as the adult, you're kind of leading the questions to help them out with what they need to know in second grade. Now, the next issue that parents have is, what if their child makes mistakes? Are they supposed to just tell them the word? Are they supposed to tell them sound it out? That seems to be when I was in school. That's the only skill we were given, was saying sound it out. So I brought a book here today called Kitten's First Full Moon. And this is a book that's read to children in kindergarten and first grade. But in second grade, a child could read it to themselves. I've chosen this book because the print is large and I need you to be able to see it. So what would happen if your child came to a word they didn't know? And here I'll show you, in this book there's the word waiting. One of the easiest things for a parent to help a child with a word is say, look for a part you know. And so what we would do in this word is we would be looking at the ing. The kids know a lot of words with ing, sing, thing, and then they also know it ends a lot of words, doing, saying, playing. So tell them, look for a part you know, and then when they find the ing, since it's at the end of the word, I'd just say, cover it up with your finger. Now try the other part and say it slowly. Wait. Now add the part you know, waiting. So that's one skill that your teacher has taught your children that's fairly easy for you to do at home. Look for parts you know. And that will really help your child just not say, I don't know this word, what is it? So when you automatically tell them the word, then they learn to just ask. But when they ask you for the word and you immediately say, look for parts you know, they're going to realize that the reading is on them, not on you. All right, going over to these pages, we've got more ing words, so you would remind them. You found the ing says-ing on the other page. Let's look for it on this page too. And that would help them find things and figure them out. Another part is, say this word here, garden, they struggle with. Then what you might do if you say, look for parts you know, and they're like, I don't see a part of the word I know, then what we tell them is to chunk the word. Chunk is a very fancy way of saying break it into parts. So what you would do is they would look at it and just say the first few letters. They can do G-A-R, gar, and they can do D-E-N, den. Now put them together, garden, garden. So if you tell your child, chunk the word or break it into smaller parts, that's another strategy that can help them figure out a word. If it's an incredibly difficult word, say that it's a book about a scientific theory, you can tell them the word, but always give them the chance to give it a try themselves. All right, now we're going to watch Mrs. Gazoulis again, and she's going to help her child with some tricky words. All right, let's see.
Mr. Wolf. Psst. Hey, you.
Well, you're reading it like Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, you. Get over here. I said get over here. What's your problem? Oh, I see. I get it. Oh, you're thinking, oh, it's a big, bad, scary wolf. I don't want to talk to him. He's a mustard.
Does that make sense? He's a mustard?
No.
Does that look right? This word ends with an R. Mustard. What does that mustard end with?
D.
What could that word be?
Monster?
Oh, yeah, read that again.
He's a monster.
Oh, I wouldn't want to be near a monster either.
Let me tell you something, buddy. Just because I've got big, pointy teeth and razor sharp spoons to join us. Any minute now, they'll be walking through the door. They're great guys, just like me. They're misunderstood.
That's a long word. Do you think we could chunk it into parts that you know?
Yeah, I know miss, and I know under, and I know stood. Misunderstood!
Oh, that makes sense. And he's saying that he's a bad guy,
Yeah.
and he's just misunderstood.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, keep reading, Jay.
So don't go anywhere. No, seriously, don't even think about it, okay?
It was great to see that reading with the mother and child in action. So let's take a look back at our last page of our reading routines at home. And we've gone through a lot of these things. The questions are listed here in case you've forgotten them. Chunking the words is here. And there's another part that's in here. Does it make sense? That is a fairly easy thing for parents to do once you understand it. So we'll go back to my book. and there was a great big bowl of milk on the porch. Let's say that your child says, and there was a great big bowl of milk on the punch. Then the first thing you can do is say, does that make sense? Can there be a bowl of milk on a punch? And then they'd be like, no. And then 3 easy words for parents to learn, try that again. So you say, does that make sense? They say no, try that again. Let's say it doesn't help, they can't figure it out. Well, then we're going to say, punch. Does that look right? Well, it does start with P, that's pa, and it does end with CH, that's cha. It's probably where they got the idea. But I see an OR in there. So I'm going to kind of chunk the word again. OR says or. So now we're going to break the word into p, or, ch. I want you to break the word and then to read the sentence again and see if it makes sense. All right, parents, I've given you a lot to think about today. But if you'll work with me and work with your child's teacher and work with your child, you're going to find that after time, they are going to love to read. You're going to love to read with them. And we're going to just keep working together. So start practicing. Think about your questions. I'd love to answer them. And then look forward to Module 4, where we'll learn some more techniques. Thank you.